think it was Andy Edwards. You know Andy? It's like he was on Beato. Just like a English commentator on music.
Andy Edwards. Never heard of him.
Bloody music industry plants. Full of them. The music industry is full of them now. In the old days, you get two working class guys, you know, playing guitars around each other's thing, you know, getting some stuff, trying to learn a few skiffle things like that. You know, they're all skiffling away on their guitars. Oh, we should form a band. Oh, my mate, you know, he plays drums. We'll get him in. And, you know, one of us will have to play bass. Who's the best at doing all them bloody, you know, Cliff Gallup solos? Well, I can sort of nail those. All right, now I'll play the bass then. Right, let's form a band then. Right. Working class people, let's think about our working class ways. Let's get in a garage somewhere and write a whole bunch of songs. And if they're good, people will love them, will go out and gig, and then because there's an audience there, right, the record industry, the music industry will spot us. Let's go and sign up those working class chaps there. They're saying something about real life, and we all want to hear it. Come on, present your songs. Here you go then, here's the songs we've written. Bloody hell, they're amazing. We'll pay for an album. Puts the album out, everyone buys albums. Bloody hell, everyone's buying albums because they buy albums at the moment. It's amazing. They don't have downloading in this era. So, you know, they all go and buy the albums, don't they? And, you know, we get like something like 5%, but they're buying so many albums. I can bloody multi-millionaire now. It's brilliant. What does that mean? It means I can have sex with anybody and smash stuff up and no one will tell me off. It's amazing. Right, so that's the old way of doing it, isn't it? Then the computers come in, and because the computers come in, they don't have to worry about bloody working class people playing guitars anymore, because anyone can do it. And it's working class people doing it. They're in their little bedrooms now making electronic dance music. But the industry goes, hang on, if the computers are doing it, why do we need the people? Sack them off. So they're sacked off, you know, that goes on and that goes on. So, you know, we need someone to push the buttons. Yeah, but someone who knows our ways, someone who knows our elitist, you know, rich ways, not some common person that goes off, you know, smashing stuff up and things like that, you know. I mean, look at that debacle we had with Oasis. I mean, they made us a lot of money, but bloody hell, I used to hate them. I had to sit there, chat to that Noel and that Liam, common they were, and I had to pretend like they were important. They weren't important, but they bloody thought they were. We always say, yes, sir, no, we have to kiss their ass. I ain't having that again. Well, what do you suggest? Well, you know, my friend, his son Tarquin, he can do all that pushing, you know. He's really good at it, yeah. Well, he would be. He'd just have to get a job because he's just supported by his very rich parents. So they bought all the computer stuff. He's got, why don't we get him in to do it? That's a good idea. Get him in, you know. And actually, there's this AI thing now. We don't even need that. Yeah, but we can't not let him have a job. We'll give him another job and he'll just program up the AI and he'll pretend he's done it. And, you know, he's quite a good looking lad. Let's just push these people, you know. Now, once you got that there, it's like the music industry could go out and say, you know Tarquin? Yes. He's a good lad, isn't he? Yeah, he does everything we say and he writes that music. Can he sing? Well, not really, but he does a bit of rapping. Oh, well, ask him if he can rap into his computer, then quantize it all and then put a big, really thick pitch shifter on, because then he needs no talent. He can just do whatever he wants. Okay. Well, we spoke to Tarquin and he will do that. Well, how about we sign him up? Rather than just pushing the buttons, he can be the next big pop star, right? We'll be able to put our names on all his songs. He said he'll do that. They need the money anyway, you know, but we can get him out and do that. You know, my friends promised him this massive gig. We can get him to do the Super Bowl at some point. You know, all the connections we've got, bang him on. He can't go wrong once you put someone in front of everybody like that. And they'll listen to anything, won't they? Absolutely anything. I mean, Ed Sheeran proved that. I mean, he wasn't particularly good looking, was he? But, you know, he got some catchy hooks and his parents were sort of the right class of people. And he seemed to do really well. It just shows you what you could do, because I thought he was a bit too ginger to get anywhere. But he did get somewhere. So let's do that then. I know, but the problem is, what we're finding is that the people, they actually think that you're good if you organically become famous, that you do your stuff. They want us. I mean, have you seen like Pop Idol and all that stuff? Have you watched like, you know, Britain's Got Talent? These are just normal people walking, and then we have these 4 fairy godmothers sit there, and they go, "You're amazing talent. We bestow on you the magic that will make you famous." Only for a few minutes, and your contract you sign means you'll make no money. But that's not the point. We will bestow the magic on you. That's how people think this happens. They think you bestow the magic on people because you've discovered the talent. It's raw talent coming out. The raw talent that's expressing that's what they want. They don't want to just think it's a posh person that we just chose. Well, we need to write a different story around them. We have to make out that they are a normal person. That's a good idea. How do we do that? We'll just get some photographs of them in a shoddy room, writing the stuff perhaps. Just get them to stick it on SoundCloud and don't tell anybody. Just have the tracks up there for a while, and then, we'll discover one of their tracks on SoundCloud. What does that mean? Yeah, well, we got these machinations of stuff. Remember when we were selling all that Spotify stuff to all the crap artists that we're not going to do anything with? Yeah, it was brilliant, wasn't it? They all pay us money to get their stuff on Spotify, then no one listens to it. Well, actually, we've stolen all their information through doing that. And so we've got a database of music fans, and so we can market directly to them. That doesn't happen, does it? Oh, yeah, it's really bloody complex. No YouTuber would be able to explain it. I think Andy Edwards tried to explain it on a video recently, but he didn't do a very good job, so they probably didn't understand what he was saying. No, it's because he doesn't really understand it. No, it is, he does. But we have got now incredible computer-based stuff to be able to go, "Oh, I've discovered this track on SoundCloud." No, you haven't, mate. It's been forced your way, right? We can do that now, which means we've got control of it. Now, what I'm describing here is a slightly mythic, imagined scenario of what is the industry plant? The industry plant is somebody who is connected already in, right, that has got the money, connections, and the companies sign them up and try and make them successful. They're a plant that's put in. And part of that is, and this is an essential part of it, is that a narrative is portrayed that they're not that. Now, what's very interesting to me is that in a way every single artist that's ever been signed is a plant, right? Because it's a lottery. Most bands don't get signed. Most major labels in the old days were signing how many acts a year? 10, 20, I don't know, but it wasn't like thousands. So you being there, right, it's because you have been vetted by the powers that be. Now the thing is that when rock and roll happened in the 1960s, you've got to understand that the companies weren't equipped to understand it. So they were just signing anything up. They would just go, the kids like that. And they did the right thing of going down where the common kids were, the everyday kids, and signing them up. And that worked because the kids had something to say. But that changed. The reason it changed is because the labels and the industry didn't like it. It was expensive. And capitalism means that they will always try and save money and maximise their profits. It's cheaper to have an artist, right, and have your separate songwriter, and then write that and you produce that and you put it out, than to try and deal with a band. Because in the 1960s, because of the creation of Apple and then managers like Don Arden and Peter Grant, they had been able to actually amass a lot more for the bands themselves, and it was hard to argue against that. The only way you could get that back was by starting to sign up individual artists, and that shift happened in the late 90s with Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera, and then the boy bands. That's a better deal for everybody all round, and so that naturally happened. But my point is that when the labels signed you, the reason why you wanted the deal was because the deal meant that they could put you in a place where you would be discovered. Okay? Now this is a very subtle dance that music business has with the audience. You cannot go up to someone and say like this. You just can't do it. Normal artists have that problem all the time. They spend a whole bunch of things writing some music. They put it on Bandcamp, they put it on Spotify, they go onto their Instagram, and they think, well, I've got all these followers on Instagram who are following me and my friends, and they put up their record and say, this is my new record, and everything is against them at that point. And they think it's just the algorithm, or Facebook doesn't want to push it on people. But the truth is, nobody wants to listen to your stuff. You cannot market it It's not a commodity that people want. Hey everybody, I've got a new song out that I wrote. Do you want to come and listen to it? Oh yes, I love new songs. I hate listening to music that I like. I don't like to listen to the albums that I know and love. I like to listen to all new music where I've got no framework to understand what it is. Please bring it on. Oh, it's new music. I love it. This is just not the case. And so the marketing in the music industry is all based around trying to get the people to think that they know what it is before they know it. This is the next big thing. They've gone to number one. They play the style music you already know. You might have seen them doing this. They were on this tour. It's all about that. And before you know it, you go, oh yeah, that's that person keeps cropping up again. I quite like what they do actually, if I'm going to make a decision about them. So that's how marketing works, okay? Once you understand that, you realise that there is a way of marketing a band, right, that will improve their chances of making it. But on the other side, it's not a done deal. The business doesn't know how to do it, but they've got an idea of how to do it. All right? That contradiction is hard for people to grasp. In our black and white world, that's hard for people to grasp. If you talk to the general public now that are aware of these things, they will be able to research stuff online and find things out, and they will go, well, no wonder this person got into the industry. Their uncle's this and they know that. I mean, gives you great more chance. I'm here writing songs. And I used to say this to my students. I said, you know, we would have people come in who had hit records and they would talk to my students. And I'd say, spot the jump. Spot the bit they cover up. What do you mean by this, Andy? What do you mean? Well, they'll stand there in front of you and they'll say something like this. Well, I was making a whole bunch of songs in my bedroom, you know, just for fun really, and a couple of people started to say they're quite good. So I started to send these out and I was getting rejections all the time. Rejections, it would say, well, then I wrote this one song, sent it out, and they said, this is really good. You should do a collaboration with this producer. And so I did that, blah, 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 you know. And I was at a talk with my students once, and this kid was there. He'd had a whole bunch of hit records, and he was saying this to my students. And he went out for a cigarette, and my students went out and chatted to him, and he was giving them all good advice. Nice bloke, he's giving them loads of advice. And he went in, they came up and said, he's really, really nice, he's really, really nice. I said, yeah, but what has he not told you? They said, what do you mean? I said, okay, are you sending tracks out? No. Would you know where to send your tracks out to? No. So how did you know where to send the tracks? Oh. He didn't tell you that. He didn't say, when he said he met that bloke, and when he said this, this and this, every biography does this, right? How did he get that? I said, Google him. Get on Wikipedia. They get on Wikipedia. Now look what school he went to. Oh my God, they've got his school down on Wikipedia. I know they have. I know that. Every single time his school will be listed on Wikipedia. If someone's done this on the whole, their school will be listed on Wikipedia. Why? My school's not listed. Yeah, because you just went into a comprehensive nothing school. It means nothing. Unless there was a murderer from there, it ain't going to be on. But if you go to a private school, then it'll be on. Click his school. Oh my God, he went to this posh school. Yeah, right, click the other people there. Oh my God, he was at college with this band and he knows that person. And yeah. So there, that's how he had the contacts to do it. Well, how can we get around that? You can't, mate. What's the point of coming and even talking to him? There is no point. Right, so that is the argument for the plant. That's the argument for it. Now, people like Rick Beato say it doesn't exist. No such thing as the plant. No such thing. And his argument would be this. I have been involved in the industry. We've had all the bloody money and budgets. We've signed bands and we've made brilliant music. It's all been there. He put it out there. Nothing's happened. If the industry knew how to have a number one, they would do it, but they don't. The idea that you could just take someone and present them in this way is not the case. Now, is Rick right or wrong there? He's entirely right. He's entirely right. The truth is both are right. There's a contingent, right, that you have to have the magic song and have something that people like, but you also have to have the contacts. Those two things go together. Now, I'm here talking, I never do that much research. I like to just talk. I like to just come on and, access my experience. It's very subjective. But I thought what I'll do is I'll be really I'll be really neutral in this and just Google sort of the 10 most successful artists around at the moment. It wasn't very scientific. I asked AI and a few other things, and I came up with this list of 10 people. And I haven't really looked at it since I came up with it, but I put a little bit of biography in for me just to guide it through. So I'm going to talk through this now in front of you. And sorry I've got this hat on. I'll put this hat on because of the previous video, and now it's starting to make it's made my hair look funny. I can't see. Well, it's all right. Right. So the first artist it came up was with Beyonce. Now Beyonce, her dad managed Destiny's Child, right? But there's no inherent privilege there. She was just very talented. His sister was talented, and they started doing stuff, and they got somewhere. And they did have the advantage of a dad coming in and looking after them. So that dad would have been on their side. But there's nothing wrong with that. So I don't think Beyonce had any special privileges to get into the industry, but Beyonce has been around now for 25 odd years, maybe even 30 really. Okay, so maybe she's that period where this wasn't happening so much, right? The other person that came up after Beyonce was Taylor Swift. Now Taylor Swift is an example of someone who's got a massive leg up over normal people. And the reason is because Taylor Swift's dad was a stockbroker, right, at Merrill Lynch. He was loaded, as was his mum, who was a fund manager. They had a knowledge of the industry because her grandmother was a well-known opera singer. They had contacts and they had money, right? Those contacts and money would have taken Taylor Swift to the first label that she signed up with, right? And then once she signed up, the dad put $500,000 into it. Now, they always say he signed it up and he put the money in and then he had control over it. But more to the point, if you've got a label and some bloke's about to buy it out for $500,000, that could actually safeguard you as a label for a certain amount of time. So that might be very attractive to sign Taylor Swift. Now, Taylor Swift has a charisma, an appeal, which is unique. She writes songs and the lyrics chime with young girls, and that's always how you become a big pop star. Is she a super talented songwriter? I don't think she is. Is she a super talented musician? No, I don't think she is. But she is a capable musician. But it's a charisma that really, like most pop stars, is the X factor that you have to take on board. But so two in, and one seems to have these contacts and the others doesn't. So the next one that came up was this bloke called The Weeknd, right? He seems to have come from quite a troubled background, you know, parents split up, he then leaves home, goes through quite a hedonistic experience, you know, lots of drugs, starts making music, and seems to organically, perhaps because he was in a sort of culturally quite cool place in the world, but there's none there for Weeknd. The next one that came up was Billie Eilish. Now, of course, Billie Eilish is the daughter of Maggie Baird, who is a famous actress. And she had all sorts of contacts in the industry. And she is an example of marketing an artist like they're organic and from the streets and just living in, because her parents were actors. They didn't have that much money, but they did have the contacts. So they were marketed, oh, there's her brother writing the tunes, and it's organic. I don't think it is. I think she possessed a whole range of contacts and entrees into the industry that a normal person wouldn't have. I haven't got those, and most people I know haven't got those. So we're now 50%. The next person I've got is Ariana Grande. So Ariana Grande is the daughter of Joan Grande, who's the CEO of Hose McCann Communications. Her older brother's a producer, and she was already a child star before she became a pop star. Ariana Grande is the example of hyper privilege, contacts, the whole thing. She can sing well, brilliant singer. She was a good looking girl. Put all that together, it's a shoehorn in, right? Okay? Now, the next one that came up was Drake. Now, Drake is a funny one because his dad was the drummer with Jerry Lee Lewis, right? The rock and roll superstar. Now, I don't know how many of you out there watching this, dad drum for Eddie Cochran or Jerry Lee Lewis or Buddy Holly or Elvis Presley. How many of you are there? That puts you in a certain place, right? I don't think it would give you super contacts because I'm sure once Drake was born and grown up, his dad, like most musicians who does it like me, Andy played for Robert Plant, doesn't mean I'm walking around with all Robert Plant's contacts. I'm not, which I bloody was. But he was also a child star. Drake started off as a child star on a TV show called Degrassi, The Next Generation. So I think with Drake, I don't know, but how do you get your kid into a TV show? Well, I don't know how to do that. This is what I always ask. I don't know how to do that. Now, I do have some contacts. And a number of times I know there's situations where certain artists I know, I have been able to bypass a whole bunch of crap that you never get around just by making a phone call. On my level of contacts, how do you get your kid into a TV show? Degrassi the Next. How do you do that? The next one that came up was Ed Sheeran. Now, as I've said, Ed Sheeran is very, very, very posh, privately educated. As far as is the curator of Cartwright Hall in Bradford. Right, he is a very upper middle class, privileged poshy, okay, without a doubt. The next one that came up was Adele. Now, Adele, as we know, is as common as muck, and that seems to be real. But Adele did then join the Brit Academy. Now, when I was teaching, I had a college that was training kids up, and at the same time, we had the Brit Academy. And the Brit Academy was in London and was being accessed by the industry. And they would go in all the time, and my students would get upset. And I had students going, I want to come to your college, Andy, because you have the education that I'm going to get, but I don't know whether to apply to the Brit Academy because they're scouting the people there. Adele was in the same class as Jessie J and Leona Lewis. And if you look at the alumni, it's basically the music industry. So Adele, she didn't have that. She's not a plant, but the Brit Academy was the stepping stone in. And for other people, it's hard to get to that, not because of privilege, but because of geography. And the last one that came up was Sabrina Carpenter, who, of course, she is related to Bart Simpson, or Nancy Cartwright, the voice of Bart Simpson. Now imagine that gives you a way in. So here, right, now you've got to understand, you might go, well, this is just coincidence, Andy, and some people have got contacts, some hasn't. Fair enough. But I want to think about the people you know. How many of you have these types of contacts? I would guess none. Most of us don't have any contacts. You can go through 100 people. I can go out of this town and walk all the way down and ask 100, 200 people, and they won't have Bart Simpson as a relative. Right? So here, with my really badly researched little bit of thing, we've got 10, haven't we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, I've actually got 9. 1. Oh no, because the one I did add as well, the first one that came up, biggest artist at the moment is Bad Bunny. He's got none from the street. So let's add him in, because I'm trying to be fair here. So we've got 10, and out of the 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm going to have a half a point for Adele. 6.5. So it's looking around about, the biggest artists today, half of them have contacts like us regular people don't have. That suggests to me that it's not an absolute requirement, but it really helps to have these sorts of contacts. Now, there's something else we have to mention here. When I was working in the industry at the top level, playing Glastonbury, going around doing tours and all that type of stuff, one of the things I noticed is that there was a lot of companies you'd be working for. Agencies, publishing companies, record companies, There would be companies that were providing backline. And there's a whole industry that exists around this. So when you've got an artist in the middle, when you look at a Sabrina Carpenter, for example, there is this huge industry that is around them. Now that industry used to be ran by what we called the music industry. There were companies that had been created to service the music industry, and they were part of the music industry. Now, one of the big changes that's happened in the industry recently is the people who own that now are no longer the music industry, so they have no real allegiance to music. Spotify is not part of the music industry. Its allegiance doesn't lie there, it's somewhere else. They are not in the business of making records. Spotify do not have recording studios and photographers and videographers and publishing companies. You know, they don't have that structure in there. They just exist and people bang the stuff up. Now, there is a bunch of Spotify, and I'm going to try and explain this the best I can. A few years back, when the streaming thing started to happen, right? Streaming, you can go to Spotify to stream your stuff, but if you're going to stream a thing, and anybody can do this, this is the democratization of the music industry. You can go online and find a company, and you put your track up, right, pay them some money, and they will put your track across every single streaming platform. The streaming platforms are clogged up with a whole bunch of tracks that nobody listens to. They've just been put up by normal people in the hope that they will get some, and they never will. Because there's no mechanism to bring anybody to that. But in terms of Spotify, if their mum and dad and their, Auntie Beryl goes and listens to it, it generates a tiny amount. And because there's such a vast amount, Spotify can make money, right? But also, you have to sign up and pay. So they are making money out of the people, out of their hope. Okay? Now, when this first started happening, we were all trying to work out which would be the best streaming service. And a streaming service emerged, which Universal Records had created. Okay? And back then, I was putting stuff up on Spotify using this streaming service. Now, at the moment, I cannot remember the name of it, but it does not matter. It was basically owned by, it's gone now. And this is the interesting thing, that's what I can't remember, it's a few years back. But this streaming service, Universal Records owned, and they promised you that Universal Records will listen to every single track they put up. Right, they'll listen to it, and if they see something, they'll market it for you. And that was the pull to go to this one. Plus, it was really cheap compared to everybody else. So I started to put my stuff up on there. Now, that was linked into the opportunities to get your tracks sent off for syncing. Now, this is where your track can get sent off, and then a film might use your track, and then you can make a whole ton of money out of that. So you suddenly feel like you're part of this world. But you're not, because nothing ever comes through. I'm getting these forms come through, say, do you want to appeal for this syncing? Do you want Universal to market you? Do you want to do this? You want to do that? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm doing everything they're asking, filling out this, registering for that, doing all that, and nothing's happening, But it feels like something's happening. And then a music manager that I was talking to that manages proper artists was saying, well, one way to test your material to see if it's any good is to go to submitit.com. So I register up with submitit.com. I don't know whether this is still going because I am completely out of this. I've got no interest in it now. But submitit.com, what it did is that you go and put your track up, right? And then you can pay for influencers to listen to it. And you can cross your fingers and hope that those influencers might go, I quite like this, so I'm going to stick it up on my blog or something like that. Now, you sat there going, they're not going to, are they? Well, they've got the thing of just getting paid just to listen to it. They don't even have to say they listen to it. All they have to do is log in and say, I have listened to it. Right? You have to pay for that. Okay? And I thought this was a bit dubious, but you can get credits. So they will listen to it. But you have to build these credits up. It's like a bit like going on an online gambling site. So they give you some credits. So you can send it to one person, and they're a low-level influencer. So you send it to them, And they went, yeah, they didn't even tell you, just get a message back, yeah, listen to it, wasn't interested. I need more credits then. Well, on submitit.com, there's another way of gaining credits, and that was to listen to other hopeful yet failures that are on there. And so I start to sit there, being a lecturer, and I'm used to marking, and I would get on there and let's do a track, and the more feedback you put up, so I go, that's crap, your verse isn't right, you need to put that there. This one's quite good, but you're lacking this. And I would sit there and get all these credits up, and then go and ask the influencers if they would play my or listen to my song, and they never did. But the thing with me is I was teaching at the time, and I utilised this website to illustrate something to my students. So all my students are sat there, and they're all trying to make their tracks, and they want to put it onto I nearly remembered the name of this thing. It wasn't Centric. Centric was the one I signed up to. Oh, bloody waste of time. All right, all rob dogs. Anyway, they all wanted to get their stuff out there. I'm trying to help them get it up on Spotify, right? And I'm trying to explain to them what they need to do to bypass every other loser that's trying to get their tracks up. So what I would do is that I would go open up Submit It Hub, open up my account and said, we're all going to listen to these tracks and you're going to tell me what you think and I'll write it in. So not only am I teaching, but I'm also getting credits on this website. So first track comes up, I say pick the genre, and then we first track up, click it, and they go, oh, it sounds quite good. God, it does not sound like so-and-so though. So I go, sounds like so-and-so, click next one. All sounds really good, that does, but I've heard this one before, it really sounds like so-and-so, sounds like so-and-so. Right, next one. God, this is boring now. They all sound sort of the same, don't they, Andy? They all sound the same and it's boring. I want something, just they all sound really boring, like other, sounds boring. And once you get 10 in, they would go, oh, it's not that these sound bad. It's not that the artists aren't competent. The problem is they're making stuff which is boring. And then I go, well, what's your stuff like? Is it all unique and wonderful and interesting and sticks out like a sore thumb? Or is it just boring, competent stuff because you're trying to sound like everybody else? And then the penny would drop. You see, the penny would drop doing this. Now, that website is interesting because these influencers that I was trying to pay to look at, they are, when I think back to them, they are tiny compared to the reach that I now have because I am now an influencer. Now, I know if there was a band out there and they came along and they said, can you talk about our album and try and sell it on your thing? I could do this. I could say, well, I will, but I'm going to charge you for it. Now, you notice I don't stop halfway through and say, I've got this sponsorship or this. I just don't do that. I don't do it, right? I don't do it because I don't trust it. If the right one came along, I'd probably do it. If I could make a load of money and I'm not going to get ripped off or look like an idiot or do something that's against my sort of moral sort of worldview, I'd do it. And I don't know. I won't know if I'm morally against it until I do it. But there is a part of me that going, anyway, at this point, I'd just like to say that this innocent orange juice, I drink a bottle of this every day. And since I've been doing that, I've been going to the toilet far more regularly, you know, and the idea that I'm going to do that halfway through, don't bother me, I'll do it. I mean, they got a bit of bloody advertising, but makes no difference to them. But bands, bloody hell. You making weird prog rock, you making weird jazz rock fusion, all that stuff, right? I'm your man. Where else are you going to go? I've got the audience in front of me. It's like 1 million people a month, all sort of coming from that direction. I've got them. That's my thing. Beato's just got musicians, you know, Classic Album Review, he's just got classic rock fans. Here we got musos, all the weird stuff I've got. You can do everything through here, right? So, I could come out and push your band for you. Now, I'd want payment to do that. Why? Because I'm going to lose money. Because as soon as I come out here and say, I really like this new album, you're going to go, switch off now, I don't want to know. Maybe I could slide it into halfway through. We could have a regular slot where I go once a week. I'm going to push an album once a week in my most popular video. I know which one's going to be the most popular video. So I'm going to put it on in the middle of there. So you're guaranteed, you know, over a year, maybe 100,000, 200,000 views. Right? You will sell records. When I push a new album, they always come back and they do sell physical products. So I know I can do it. And I could get you to pay for it, but I could say, oh, you got to pay me, but I got to like it as well. Right? Now that would actually be honest and value for money for the artists. It really would. Now, every time I put my email on, there'll be like 10, 15 emails that are like this. Message from so-and-so, somebody's name, or message for the YouTuber Andy Edwards. Hi, my name is Eric so-and-so, and you know, I love your channel. We grew up, we all think the same things, we've had the same experiences. I did this, I did that, I was a part of this, I was a part of that. Here's an album I did, here's something I wrote, here's a book I did, blah, blah, blah. And it's upsetting to see all these emails coming through and me going, I can't read any of these. If I was to read them all, my brain would be mush. I can't do anything about it. So a long time ago, I just don't read them. They're just deleted or left there. And yet they still come. Right? It's a depressing, the idea of the plant is very depressing. It's almost like it's the personification of those two ideas that stop people from being creative. Those ideas being, you're not talented enough, and there's too many people out there. You're just in the great mass of nobodies, and you can't get anywhere with your music. I wouldn't like people to think that, but I know by saying there's no such thing as a plant, it would be pulling the wool over people's eyes, really, to say that. And that would be wrong, because the truth is, it's somewhere between the two. But the predominance of wealthy, upper middle class, secure, elite people that are in the music industry is so unbelievably high. And then on top of that, if you are aligned to someone like a Rock Plant or a Paul McCartney or a Mick Jagger, these guys might have been regular people a long time ago, but they exist in a certain place, and it's not where us normal people exist. And to grease the wheels socially, it's a lot easier for them to be surrounded by people that could at least keep up somewhat to that socially, you know, money-wise, contacts, all those types of things. The best friends of the rich superstar rock and roll elites tend to be, I assume, lawyers, rich entrepreneurs. And so, when we examine this phenomenon of the plant, I think we have to state, if we go back to the original criteria after this long discussion, we go back to it, the whole pretense of the plant is to pretend that they're not that. That's what makes them a plant, is when these things are kept quiet, especially in the early days. And the pretense that the marketing has that these is organic. Now, organic points to authenticity, and authenticity is a value that emerged post Bob Dylan in the era of rock and roll. Nobody thought Frank Sinatra wasn't authentic because he sang someone else's song and someone else arranged his tunes, and someone else, you know, in many cases would give him the songs to sing. They didn't think he was inauthentic. They just saw him as a great singer servicing this industry, and that's how it worked. The idea that you have to believe in your own message, this is a very powerful thing. And I think there is a utility in believing that, actually. I think that the era of rock and roll was about the true idea of authenticity, which is that you are you. So, the reason why they are trying to cover up their elitist backgrounds and the fact that they've got the contacts is what they're trying to say is, yeah, don't focus on it, that's not an issue. I'm a real person. I'm authentic. well, your drum beats don't sound authentic, and your chord progressions don't sound authentic, and the way you mixed your voice doesn't sound authentic, and what you're singing about doesn't sound authentic, and the song structures don't sound authentic, and the way you're dressed and the way you're acting doesn't sound authentic, and you seem to be just parroting the establishment. This is not the sort of utopian, progressive anarchists that drove early rock and roll. That sort of thing has become establishment. Here we got Bob Villan up on stage, death to the IDF. And then you look into him and he's got a double-barreled name, and he's a poshie. He's part of the establishment. And I was watching an interview with a very, very posh girl that was going, I would love to be, maybe if I could work for some company, maybe work for someone like Bob Villan. That's right. So this is the establishment. This is, that rebelliousness has become so inauthentic that when you see that, you must go, that's inauthentic. We know the things that upset everybody now. Who's the most rock and roll person on the planet at the moment? It's bloody Donald Trump. He's the most rock and roll person. No, you can't say that, Andy. I don't like you. I'm not saying I like Trump. I'm not saying that. Believe me, I'm not saying that. So don't go subscribe now. I'm just drawing attention that what is truly outrageous for most people, right, that the establishment, you know, the upper echelons is not what it was. That's the only point I'm making there. That is absolutely the truth, right? I know what upsets the bloody educated middle classes because I have this channel, so I could do it all day long. I know what truly rock and roll is nowadays. So, where does this leave us at the end of this bloody incredibly long video that I've just done on this? Where does it leave us? Well, I think if you're depressed by this, if you're an artist, my advice is to truly be authentic and truly be yourself. And that means you have to let go of the sheen, of the bullshit, and not copy the bullshit that the industry uses to service these plants. Don't do it. Don't do it. You be yourself and try and sustain your ability to be yourself creatively. That is all you can do. Now, if you can do that and find a way of doing it, you'll be happy. No amount of success or record sales or anything is going to make you any happier. You just need to be able to do that. Now, the very thing that created the plant, the very thing that turned away from those rock bands, the fact that technology was no longer needed, right? They didn't have to go there. They didn't have to sign an Oasis or an Iggy Pop and have all that pain in the bumness. The reason they can go and get Tarquin is also the reason why this has been democratized. Now, I believe that what I'm doing here is of worth because the sort of music I like, which is really the worst sort of music to like in this day and age, right? The value of elitist, brilliant music, complex, difficult, made by virtuosos who feel music so deeply that can express emotion and that most people aren't able to actually even get that. It's an esoteric thing I'm talking about here, right? But there's enough people out there to maintain a small industry. That's never going to go away. But that audience will be different. And the connections of the community is different. And I can see it here right now. I have a YouTube here, and attached to me is all sorts of things. My Patreon, my members. There's a little group that talk to each other on the premieres. The only reason why I do premieres is because I know if I stopped, that group wouldn't be able to get together. Right? Every day they're in there, got their own language and everything. I love them. They're there. Right? And then if you go on to become a patron, you can join my Patreon WhatsApp, which is a whole bunch of creative people sharing music they like, but also their own music. And so I don't think I've done this to any great level, but I like the fact that I've been able to create that around me. And I believe as this gets bigger, I'll be able to do that more. And so what's my answer to this? I can't answer it. Yeah, plants exist, but it's not a given. You just can't make someone famous. You can't do that. But there are people where they are trying to do that because they're already in. They're already in the system. Of course there is. They exist. And that's depressing. But there is an answer to it. But I can't talk about it here because no one would watch those videos. I'm a drummer and guitarist. I do all the stuff I do. I can make you laugh. I can entertain you because I used to be a lecturer, so I have to entertain kids. I know I can do all that. But really, what has been the overriding thing for me all my life is trying to motivate and support people to be creative so they don't go nuts. And that's what I want out of this channel, is to be able to motivate, educate, and calm the demons so people can be creative so they don't go nuts. Thanks for watching.